What's up guys, it's Kat at Kat Reviews Books. Super sorry it's been a while. I of course have made posts that I had to move at the beginning of the month, and so I've still very much been settling into my new place. I'm finally getting things more or less finished up and tidied. My living room is basically set up. All of my books have finally been unpacked, which is the main thing that I was waiting for in order to start making videos again, because it wouldn't be booktube without books. Just saying. We are just gonna kind of go into some things. I want to for sure discuss how 2025 ended and what my goals for 2026 are gonna be. I know that it's basically the end of the month and everyone else did this at the beginning, but since I had to move, it was a little bit hard to do that, unfortunately. So let's start with talking about 2025. I did make a little note for myself so we could hit the high points and the low points. So for last year, according to Goodreads, I finished 41 books. I did DNF 4 of those books though, so in reality I only finished 37 books last year, which isn't bad for me per se. I normally average about 50, but last year I hit a slump at the beginning and at the end of the year, so I really wasn't reading all that much, to be completely frank with you. So I'm okay with that number. I thought we could go over my bottom 5 first and then talk about my top 5 books and then go into 2026. Of course, for my bottom 5 books, I do not have any of these copies anymore because I either read them as ebooks or I got rid of the copies right away. So to talk about my bottom 5 books, we are going to talk about my 5th bottom book up to my worst book of the year, if that makes sense. So, coming in at number 5, I did read Animal Farm last year. It's not like this was a terrible book. I mean, obviously, it's got some heavy topics and everything. It's just that out of all the books I read, this one was sort of bottom of the pile. Coming in at number 4, we have No Escape. Again, it's not like it was a bad book. I have a review up for this one. I will link it here if you want to watch that, but that one is just a lot of meh. It could have been better. It had a decent concept, it just didn't run away with it, unfortunately. 3rd worst book of the year for me was Best of All Worlds. Again, there's a review up. A lot of this for me was it's marketed as one genre and it should be another, and B, the ending was not, I mean, it was kind of lackluster, so I sort of wish I had DNF'd this book, but it is what it is. My 2nd worst book of the year was Wool from Hugh Howey. This one I also have a review up. I despised this book. I really did. I wanted to love it, but like when the TV show does a better job than the book does, something might be wrong, just a little bit. And then my worst book of the year, my least favorite, one that I really should have DNF'd and I wish I had, but I didn't, was More Happy Than Not. I talked about this in my mass review video with all the non-physical books, so I will link that up here somewhere, but that one, I didn't have any nice things to say about that book, and I think I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I think that was too generous. I think I'm a little too generous when it comes to my star ratings. So those are my worst books for 2025. We're now going to get into my best books. Of course, we're going to talk about my least best book up to my best book of the year, just like we did with the worst books of the year. So let's see how this goes, shall we? So of my best books of 2025, I don't have 2 of these books. My 5th and 3rd book, I don't have physical copies of. My 5th book is because I had an ARC and I gave it away to somebody else so they could read it. I'm going to buy the other one, but only once it comes out in paperback, because it's still in hardcover right now, because it just came out in September. And my 3rd book I borrowed from the library. I'm also sort of waiting for it to come out in paperback because I think I read this back in like May or June, roughly a few weeks after it came out, so it's still in hardcover right now. These all do have a common theme. They are all either YA or middle grade books, which doesn't surprise anybody considering YA is one of my top genres. So at number 5, we have Scarlet Morning. This one was very much pirate-esque. It had a great like character build. You could tell the characters were developing. The writing style was gorgeous, flowy. It was everything I wanted out of a book. It had illustrations in it, just kind of sprinkled in, and like, I know that middle grade books don't really do that nowadays, so I was living for that. It was very much giving me Vampirate vibes, which is like a series that I found I loved. It's one of the big reasons I started getting more and more into fantasy recently. So this book, phenomenal. I loved everything about it. Zero complaints. I love the characters. Only complaint I guess I have is that there is no set date for book 2 yet. It ended on a massive cliffhanger. I got some issues with that. We need to talk, okay? But this is from the author of Nimona. And if you haven't read or seen the movie, please, I need you to do that for me. Coming in at number 4, which this book should be no surprise to anybody, it's Scythe from Neal Shusterman. I, of course, found out very quickly how much I loved Neal back in high school, and this book did not disappoint. I did go ahead and continue on with the series. So I have read the second book, and I did start the third book, but the third book was kind of heavy, so I put it down. I will go back to it. I needed to take a break from this world for a while, and the books just keep getting thicker and thicker, of course. So book 1 is 500 pages, book 2 is about 550, I think, and I think book 3 is almost 700 pages. So, but I love this book. I love dystopian novels. I love the concepts. I love the characters. I don't have any complaints about this book outside of the fact that the ending in the first one, I have some words for you, Neal. We need to talk. Okay, if you see this, my email is provided at all times, okay? I have words. But I love this book. I will eventually buy the rest of the series, despite the fact that I really feel like you could read this book and you could be done. But I think you get more of the world and more of the characters in the next 2 books. Coming in at number 3, of course, we have talked about this. I don't have a physical copy of this one. I borrowed it from my library. I read And They Were Roommates, and this one was phenomenal. I read it in one sitting. I loved everything about it. There is going to be a review up here somewhere, so if you want to go hear more about that, you definitely can. But I literally was kicking my feet and like giggling like a schoolgirl. I got nothing more to say. This book was phenomenal. Coming in at number 2 and number 1 were very close for a little while, but number 1 had a slight edge over number 2, so we'll go with it. But number 2 is going to be Darkly. This one was one of my favorite books, and it came out in paperback back in October, so of course I got it. I'm digging these checkered edges just because it's very nice with the cover, but not something I would typically pick up. If you want a mystery thriller with some like fantasy elements, and if you are a board game nerd, please pick this up. I will be finding her other books and putting them on my backlist because this is phenomenal. And when she writes books in the future, you best believe I will be there. I will be up in her business just like, hi, hello, please give me your book. So, definitely one that I would recommend, honestly. Everything in my top 5 I can't shut up about at this point. If you're interested in knowing more about Darkly, I do believe it is also part of my mass review video, and I do believe this first book is also part of that, so I will make sure that all of that gets linked. At number 1, coming in at no surprise to anybody, is The Rose Bargain. This one was my most surprising book of last year. It was my favorite book of last year. I don't like fantasy that much, so I wasn't expecting a book about fae to be piquing my interest, but I literally have a countdown on my phone for The Thorn Queen, which is coming out soon. I can't wait for the sequel. Okay, do you know how many times I have hoped that they are going to send an ARC into my job so that I can read it early, because I need to know what you've done to my girl. Okay, Sasha? You understand me? Alright, I need for this to extend so I can know about my girl. I need to know if she's safe. I need to know if she's okay. Both mentally and physically. 5-star read. Can't recommend it enough. I do believe the paperback has come out recently, so try to pick that up if you want to. So that was my top 5 books and bottom 5 books for 2025. Like I said, didn't have a bad reading year. I didn't hit a lot of my goals like I planned to last year. A lot of my goals were pretty much reading the Rick Riordan universe and then through the Neal Shusterman backlog. And I did do some of that, but I didn't push it as much as I thought I was going to. So not a huge deal to me. I have plenty of time. Everybody say hi to Roxanne. Can you say hi? No, but you can headbutt Mom. I have to have a little cat break there. So getting into my 2026, we are hoping that the goal is, as every year, I want to read 100 books. Bump the brakes for a second. I know that's not realistic. It's a hope and dream that I have every year, but I have set my reading goals to just 25 books. I know that I can do that. I know it's manageable. So 25 books for the year, we'll take it. My goals for the year are hopefully to get through all the books on my shelves right now. Yes, I want to try to read through as many books that I already physically own as possible. I want to get rid of some, and I want to find ones that I really, really love this year. I'm really hoping to do that. I have currently set up my books to be my oldest owned book to my newest owned book. Just as an example, I'm pulling a random book from my shelf. All of my books have sticky notes in them from when I got them and who I got them from, so that A, I don't forget, and B, I can remember. I think it's a very nice thing for me to do, and I'm sure a lot of people probably don't love the idea of sticky notes being inside of your book, but it's only going on the front page. Doesn't do any damage really. Plus, some of these books, like this one, are secondhand copies. I don't mind so much. So yes, got my books set up from oldest to newest. I'm hoping to read my oldest books and get rid of anything that didn't come from the last 3 years. Because I have books from middle school and high school that I have not touched yet. To go ahead and get started for the year, I have already finished 3 books. That was before I found out that I was moving, of course. So I'm actively reading 1 book right now, and I have DNF'd 3 books also for the year. So let's go ahead and do some quick recaps. So just to talk about the books that I have DNF'd for the year, because I am hoping to drop these off at my local half-price books to get some sort of credit back for them. I did DNF A Little in Love. This is one I read in middle school, and I did love it. I've had it for several years, but I got about 15 pages in, and then I was like, I really outgrew my historical phase, so this really isn't doing it for me. I don't care about these characters. I don't want to read this book, etc. So, DNF'd A Little in Love. And about halfway into it, I DNF'd Girl in a Bad Place. This is a YA mystery thriller. It's set on a compound. If you have interest in that, you definitely can, but you can tell this was one of the early 2000 scholastic YA books that reads almost more like a middle school book. So I just didn't care enough. I was curious to know what happened to her, and then I was just kind of I'm only slightly curious. It's not gonna kill me at the end of the day if I don't finish this book. Third book that I DNF'd for the year was Gone Girl. I DNF'd this about 5% into it. I tried to read it, but I really, really couldn't stand the narrator for the first couple chapters. I was I don't care about these characters. I don't want to know what happens. Nothing is keeping me here, so we were donezo with that. As for the book I'm actively reading, I am about 61% into the Book of Doors from Gareth Brown. I'm super loving it. This is actually something I never thought that I would enjoy, but I am super feeling it. I love this character. I love the concept. I think it's such an interesting thing for bookworms to read. So if you like fantasy elements and you want a secret society that's surrounded from books or made because of books, you should read this. I'm hoping that it's going to be a 5-star read for the year, but we will find out, of course. We are going to talk about my books that I have read for the year already. So, of course, I did finish Light Lark. As everyone knows, I started this last year. I ended up enjoying it for the most part. I'm interested enough to read the second book, but not I'm not obsessed with it enough to go rushing into the second book, if that makes sense. I'm going to take some time away from this universe because it took me a while to get through this. There were bits where I had to like put the book down because I was like, I'm so annoyed right now, I can't. So we'll see how things go, but maybe in a month or so I'll try picking up the sequel. The other two I did end up reading in the same day. This was a day that I had finished Light Lark, and then I just audiobooked these because they were less than like 6 hours a piece. So I did listen / read Stein Tinglers from R.L. Stein. This is just a short story collection from him. I enjoyed this for the most part. Some of these were pretty good, and some of them I was like, oh yeah. So this one was definitely like, I think if you first start an R.L. Stein, you should start with this when you're like really young and, you know, whatever. But once you've read like old R.L. Stein, this is not really doing it anymore. You know what I mean? It's just it's too on the kiddie side, even though it is a middle grade read. I don't know. His books traumatized me as a kid, and this, I just don't feel like it would have. As for the third book I finished for the year, that was All the Fighting Parts. This is a book written in like verse. It's like poetry. I will say this book is heavy, so it did take me longer than I was expecting to, but it is, of course, there are trigger warnings about SA in here, so if you don't want a book with that, please avoid this book. But it wasn't like it was a bad book. It was a lot. So it definitely sat on my stomach for a couple days. So it took me a little bit to try to read something else after this. I, of course, am going to end this book by talking about my bookshelves. I'm not going to give you guys a full house tour like I planned, just because I'm still, again, actively setting up. But just to give you a quick overview, I have my cookbooks and then my picture books and stuff like that all down here on this top shelf. And then, of course, we go from my oldest books. So these are ones that I acquired in middle school. And just to give you a brief idea, that goes all the way down. This down here goes through 2023. I do believe our next shelf here starts with 2024. And then again, it just goes all the way down. So these ones on the bottom are ones that I've acquired the most recently. Okay, and then of course these shelves over here, I have like my special signed editions on these top two shelves and books that I've read. And then just more signed editions pretty much all the way down until these bottom shelves, these are ones that I've had for years that are just kind of older copies and stuff like that. Just because I don't have enough special editions to finish filling my shelves yet. So, like I said, got some ones that I've read, some of my favorites, and then towards the bottom, just some that I think are like my oldest titles and stuff like that. And then over there, it really starts breaking down into the chronological order. That is going to be it for me for this video. I appreciate you guys sticking around for what you have. If you have any interest, I have made it a point to say it a couple times now, but I do have a Discord server where I kind of interact more on a daily basis, so if anyone wants to join that, we have a couple different tabs in there where you can post like pet pictures, where you can talk about what you're reading. If you're into cooking like I am, you can talk about what you're making. Lots of different things, so we've just got a couple people in there right now, but I would love to get to know everyone a little bit better. So again, I really appreciate you guys sticking around, and I hope we have a great reading year together in 2026. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.